Good morning, everyone. 10 o'clock on a Friday morning, and I'm here. And I've actually been away since my last video. I left on Saturday and I came back yesterday, and I had a wonderful trip in Bali. Don't know if you can see the colors of my dress. Spent lots of money, spent time with a bestie, and I did some travel sketching actually. And I posted those on the Karen Frankel page if you want to have a look. So welcome everybody, I'm Karen Frankel, and I'm here to tell you that drawing is for everybody. I want you to all get drawing, understand it a little bit. So thanks for joining me on these videos. And today's video, as I mentioned in the email, came out of a little bit of a duh moment for me. I was driving along and looking at the clouds, and I often look at these beautiful skies and the changing clouds and storm clouds and wispy clouds and clear blue skies and all of that sort of thing. And for somebody who's been drawing for as long as I have, and for who's been teaching for as long as I have, I had a bit of a duh moment and I was a little bit embarrassed. But I'll let you know about it because we all have those moments. And no, it's not only you. And I was looking at the clouds, and the bottom of the clouds were full of rain. It wasn't quite rainy yet, but the bottom of the clouds were a bit darker grey than usual, and they drifted up into the white wispy tops that you usually see on clouds. Sometimes they're all white. And it occurred to me that the whole bottom layer of the cloud was grey. It wasn't just this two-dimensional cloud with a bit of grey at the bottom, you know, drifting up like some of those beautiful materials do, that changing colour. That the bottom of the cloud was flat, and it was the whole section there. And that's what I thought of. Oh, it's actually a 3D box. And so it was a bit weird, because it's above your eye level. The clouds are obviously above your eye level. You're looking up underneath those clouds, trying to indicate with my hand. You're looking up underneath those clouds, and you're seeing the underside, whereas if they were boxes on the floor, we're all used to seeing the top of the box and then the sides. And so that got me thinking about sharing something that people are not sort of conscious of when you're drawing, and that is the difference between shape and tone. No, my apologies. Shape and form, and what those two words mean and why they're important to us for drawers. So I have my trusty markers here, and I thought I would use colored markers and strong lines so that you can see what's going on my easel here. I'm actually looking at a new camera at the moment. I have yet to figure out how to do two of them, but I'm hoping that this camera provides you with a better zoomed in view than the camera from my computer. I wonder if anyone's joined us live. I'm just looking at my computer now. Can't see anyone, but hope you'll come on soon. Let me know, send me a heart if you're on there. Okay, shape and form. Shape, the word shape describes two-dimensional shapes. So a circle and a square and a star, an oval, a rectangle, an oblong, those sorts of things are all described. The word is describing a two-dimensional shape. So let me move my easel so that you can see what I'm drawing, and I'll just peek in from the side here. So if I simply draw that, now, oh good, that's nice and clear for you. If I simply draw that, that's a square. If I simply draw that, that is a circle. Now, when we are drawing, or painting for that matter, but in our case drawing, you are using a two-dimensional surface. So in essence, we are always only drawing shapes. But the trick for us as drawers is to give the illusion that things are three-dimensional. And that's where the word form comes in. So the word form describes something that has 3 dimensions. It has form. So sculptors work with form all the time. So the dimensions we've got are height or length and width. And that's it. For sculptors and for reality, we have a 3rd dimension, which is depth. So the distance from the front, you can't see that. So if I'm looking at this pen, the very small distance from the front of the pen to the back of the pen is the depth. That's the height, and that's the width. And because this is cylindrical, the width is the same as the depth. So if I show you my phone, it has a very thin depth, but it still has a depth. So when I hold it like that, you can't see that depth. You can only see the height and the width. But if you wanted to draw this, it would be a good idea to show a little bit of that width. And that's what form is, and that's what we want to depict when we are drawing realistically. If we're drawing in a cartoon fashion, in a design way, then we're not that worried about form. Although for those of you who follow animated movies and that sort of thing, they build in form more and more to make the characters look more and more realistic. So as movies have advanced, animation has advanced, you see more 3-dimensional characters, and they are full of form and are not just 2-dimensional. So getting back to our circle and our square, if we want to change that square into a form, the form that it becomes is a cube or a rectangle. So if we're keeping to the form or the shape of the square, our form shape, we try to have more or less the same dimensions. I haven't scientifically calculated that, but you can see I have now shown form. So I haven't added any shading. I have given viewers information that there is height or length, there's width, and there's that 3rd dimension, which is depth. And we forget about that when we are thinking about our drawing. Or we don't forget about it, it's just in the background somewhere. We always talk about shading and shadow to create the illusion of form, or even though we might not use that word, to create the illusion of 3 dimensions. So to turn that circle into a sphere, we can't just add a side onto it, because we can't really see the sides until we add some shadow. So if the light is coming from that direction, I always seem to have my light coming from that direction, we put shading on the opposite side, and that begins to give the illusion of form of 3 dimension. But there's something else that I need you to know about to help give your viewer the impression that you are drawing form, you're drawing 3 dimensions, not 2. And that's in the way that you shade. So if I put my shadow on this circle in that sort of way, with a flat shading, it does give you the information that there's shadow there and that it might be a sphere, but I am not adding to the illusion of this being a ball, because I've put a flat mark there. So my marks have gone all flat like that, and that doesn't improve our illusion. So if I imagine that this ball is sticking out of my paper and it is 3-dimensional, so it has form, then I wouldn't just be able to do that with my pen. I would have to, and I think I might change color here. I'll have to get used to this camera and not put my head in front of where I'm going. If I put my marks on this to show that there's form, as if I'm coloring around, lifting it up, going around. Now, I'm not sure if you can see the blue. I am now pretending that I have a ball here, and I'm coloring around that ball. So let me draw that again. Okay. I am using my shading to help me and go in the direction of how a sphere would actually be. So the illusion of this is now much more that of a form, of a 3D sphere, ball, whatever you want to call it, rather than our 2D shape. So it's easier when we have a rectangular shape to turn that into a form, because we can actually depict the side wall. But when we have something like this, we actually can't see the sides. But by shading it like that, we're now getting the impression that this is the top of the sphere and it is going round to the side. So there are a few of these that we can that can help us. If I draw that, for example, you can see a rectangle, long thin rectangle. You don't know whether that is a cylinder on its side, the side of a tree, or whether it's the side of a box. So it all depends on how I am going to render that on the side to show people that it has three-dimensional form. And if that's a cylinder, what I might do is, even though I might be looking at the cylinder, this pen is a cylinder, and your eye level shows that it's flat there, and it's flat there because it's quite short, I might do that, and immediately I have given my viewer the information that what I've drawn is not simply a shape, although it secretly is, but it has the illusion of form. It has a roundness because I have put ellipses there. So I'm drawing curves there as half ellipses, but generally speaking, I put ellipses in there. And by doing that, I am giving the illusion that this is now a cylinder. It's not just a square, a rectangle, an oblong. Do people still use that word oblong? I haven't heard it since school days. I could also do that and turn it into a thin box, pretty much the same as I did here. And now I've changed that shape, the long thin shape, into something with form. If we go to our phone, remember I mentioned my phone, and I wanted to depict, so I might be able to draw, can you see that pink? Oh, I might change to a darker color. I'll go back to the purple. So in an emoji kind of way, you might put a screen on there, and then that looks more like a calculator, doesn't it? Or one of the very, very old-fashioned phones. I don't know why I've resorted to that. I guess it's a symbolic thing, and that's what we do with emojis, they're symbols. So you might draw a phone like that, and that is a cartoon version, I guess. But if I wanted to render it more similar to my phone, that's not similar at all, I'd be putting edges on. In actual fact, that's pretty much what my phone looks like, because all I can see is a screen. How about you? We've all got these massive phones with big screens on. Okay, so that's form. Now, let me just show you how that can become useful. I've just drawn shapes and forms there pretty randomly. I want to show you how that helps us in reality. So I'm just going to discard that and give you one last trick. Not really a trick, but moving from my little description of shapes and form into how that works if you're drawing real things in landscape, that sort of thing. And my favorite one to do is a tree. Okay, so if I do that, that's our lollipop tree that most of us start off doing and some carry on doing. And if you want a symbol of a tree, then that's great. But when you look at a tree, it's not this flat shape. We haven't got a slice going right through the middle of that. That canopy, that shape of the tree, is what I was referring to earlier, is a sphere of sorts. It might actually have lots of spheres making up that tree. And each of those spheres, again, my sun coming from that top corner, each of those spheres is going to have, and look what I'm doing, I'm putting straight shading on. So if I was really doing it well, I would help out with the direction of the shading. And if I was doing it even better, I would do some mark making, but this is not a lesson on mark making, but you can see immediately how hopefully this tree is becoming more three-dimensional. So these blobs of foliage, whatever you want to call them, and we might have shading right in there. So in general, maybe these ones here will be more in shadow and these ones here will be more in light. But you can see I've already created the illusion that this tree is three-dimensional. And remember the cylinder that I put the ellipses on, you can give that illusion that your tree trunk has form by doing that. Excuse my head going in front of the camera. I'll have to figure that one out. I can put shadow as well there, and I can put my shadow going off. So those are the things that help us with illusion. Just quick and nasty there. That doesn't look anything like the shadow probably would be, but you can see that I have now created a three-dimensional form, even though it's still on my two-dimensional paper. So that's what I wanted to say today. That's the difference between shape and form. So when you are drawing even a simple pear or a fig or an orange or a banana, doesn't matter what you're doing, if you want to show that that is a bowl at the bottom here, to show the form, then shade in so that it looks like the shadow is on the bottom, inevitably light, unless you've set it on the side, light, the sun or ceiling lights come from above, and therefore as the pear turns away from the light, that's when your shadow comes. So even if you can't see a shadow, having the knowledge that this item has form will help you to put the shadow in. Here ends the lesson. I'd love to see you on my emails. Go to KarenFrankel.com, that's my website. Click on Get Drawing. I'd love to see all your drawings in the Facebook exclusive group, also called Get Drawing. So have a search for that and ask to join that Get Drawing group. It's a very safe place for you to share your work. I'd love to see where you're at. And a little bit of an update with my book. It has gone out to testers. I'm so excited. And I can't wait to get some feedback from them, see how they've gone. So get on my website, get into that Get Drawing email list. Heading towards launch date, you'll be able to get a discount on the book. You'll be able to pre-order the book and get some nice little things just for my email group. So hope to see you next week. If you're watching this in replay, please let me know with the hashtag replay. I'd love to know that you're coming on a bit later, even if you can't come on at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I'll see you next Friday. Bye. Get drawing.